I swore no one would ever know, but secrets have a way of slipping through the cracks. What started as stolen glances and late-night whispers turned into a fire I couldn't put out. And when the truth finally came out, everything changed. Please don't forget to subscribe and comment. No one was supposed to know, but the fire was too strong. I used to believe I had everything under control. Life was supposed to be about balance, rules, and boundaries. I told myself I could handle the late nights, the pressure of deadlines, and the constant weight of expectations. What I didn't prepare for was Blake Carter, the man who would turn my carefully built walls into ash. Looking back, I realize I never had a chance. Some fires don't wait for permission to burn. They consume you before you even know you're standing in the flames. The first time I really noticed him, was at the office holiday party. I'd seen him around plenty of times before. He was the new project director everyone couldn't stop talking about. Tall, confident, the kind of man who carried himself like he belonged everywhere he walked. But that night, in the glow of the string lights, drink in hand, his eyes found mine across the room. The noise of laughter, music, and clinking glasses faded, and for one heartbeat too long, it was just the two of us. Then someone called his name, and the spell broke. I told myself it was nothing. Just a look. Just a moment. But moments have a way of stacking up until they become impossible to ignore. It started small. Coffee breaks where he'd end up at the same table as me. Meetings where his gaze would linger on mine a fraction longer than necessary. Casual conversations that slipped into something deeper, as if we were both testing the edges of a secret neither of us was ready to confess. One rainy night, when my car refused to start in the company parking lot, he appeared like fate. His Jeep pulled up, headlights cutting through the downpour, and he rolled down the window. "You're going to drown out here," he said with that crooked grin that melted my defenses. "Hop in. I'll take you home." I should have said no, but I didn't. The ride was quiet at first, the kind of quiet charged with something unspoken. Raindrops streaked across the windshield, his hand steady on the wheel, his scent filling the small space between us. Halfway home, he asked me about my favorite book, and when I told him, he surprised me by quoting a line from it. That was the moment I knew I was in trouble. This wasn't just attraction, this was connection. We started having coffee together after that. At first it felt innocent enough, two colleagues unwinding. But soon, the conversations stretched longer. We laughed too easily, leaned too close, shared too much. Late-night phone calls became our ritual. Sometimes he'd show up at my door with takeout when I'd forgotten to eat, claiming he was just in the neighborhood. I knew it was dangerous. I told myself we were just friends, nothing more. But deep down, I knew the fire had already started. The night everything changed, the office was nearly empty. Everyone else had gone home. But I stayed late, typing away on my laptop under the harsh fluorescent lights. Blake was still there too, working in his glass-walled office across the hall. At some point, he came over handing me a file. His fingers brushed mine, a touch so small, so fleeting, but it felt like an electric shock. I looked up, and the way he was staring at me stole the air from my lungs. "I can't keep pretending," he said, his voice low raw. My pulse thundered. I knew what he meant, and I knew I should tell him no. But when his lips met mine, everything I thought I controlled shattered. The kiss was fire, hungry, desperate, unstoppable. I melted into him, my hands gripping his shirt as though letting go would mean losing something I couldn't bear. Afterward, we sat in silence, the weight of what we'd done pressing down on us. "No one can know," I whispered, my voice shaking. His thumb brushed my cheek, his gaze steady. "I know, but I can't stay away from you." Neither could I. The weeks that followed were a blur of stolen moments. Lunch breaks spent in hidden corners. Late-night drives where the city lights blurred into streaks around us, his hand brushing mine under restaurant tables. Every time we swore it would be the last, but every time the fire pulled us back. The risk only made it burn hotter. But secrets don't stay hidden forever. One evening, Leaving his apartment, I felt it. Eyes on me. The hallway was quiet, but I caught a shadow moving out of the corner of my eye. My heart pounded. When I turned, the space was empty, but the unease stayed with me. A few days later, I found a note slipped under my apartment door. The letters were messy, jagged. I know what you're hiding. My hands shook as I read it. Panic clawed at me. Who knew? What did they want? I showed it to Blake, my voice trembling. He read it, jaw tight, eyes darkening. Don't worry, he said firmly. I'll handle it. But the tension in his face told me he was worried too. After that, paranoia wrapped around us like smoke. Every glance from a colleague felt suspicious. Every whispered conversation a threat. We tried to carry on as if nothing had changed. But the pressure made every touch, every kiss feel urgent, fragile, stolen from a world that might collapse any second. One night, unable to hold it in any more, I confronted him. This is going to destroy us, Blake. If anyone finds out. He silenced me with a kiss, fierce and unyielding. When he pulled back, his voice was a growl. Let it burn. I don't care who knows anymore. I want you. That's all I know. But I cared. I cared about my career, my family, the reputation I had worked so hard to protect. And yet, as he held me, his heartbeat strong against mine, I realized I cared about him more. The fire was too strong. It had consumed me entirely. The breaking point came when photos appeared. Grainy shots of Blake and me leaving his apartment, his hand on my back, my smile too soft to be explained away. They circulated through the office like wildfire, whispered about in the hallways, shared behind screens. My world crumbled in an instant. Shame and fear pressed down on me, so hard I could barely breathe. But Blake didn't flinch. He walked into the office the next morning, straightened his shoulders, and took my hand in front of everyone. His voice was steady, defiant. Yes, it's true. We're together. And if anyone has a problem with it, they can deal with me. Gasps rippled through the room. I wanted to sink into the floor, but at the same time, a fierce pride burned in my chest. He wasn't hiding anymore. He wasn't ashamed. And in that moment, neither was I. The fallout wasn't easy. There were consequences, rumors, awkward silences, questions we didn't want to answer. But through it all, Blake stood by me. He held my hand when I felt like breaking, whispered reassurance when the world felt too heavy. Together, we faced the storm. One night, curled up in his arms, I realized something undeniable. Love is a fire you can't control. You can try to smother it, hide it, deny it, but eventually it will break through. And when it does, you have to make a choice. Run from the flames, or step into them and let them transform you. I chose Blake. I chose the fire. No one was supposed to know, but the fire was too strong.